All right, good afternoon. We'll call the regular meeting of the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority, April 25th, 2024 meeting to order. If the clerk can call the roll. Here.
Here.
Okay, great. We have a quorum. We'll move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. Any motions?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving now to item 3, approval of meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes for March 28th, 2024.
Just a reminder,
Good.
we usually take public comment on each item on the agenda.
Oh, even on the approval of the agenda? Oh, interesting.
We don't have to, but we do. But
Okay.
Just wanted to,
We can go back,
Do what?
I guess, public comment on the approval of the agenda. Any public comments on approval of the agenda? Okay. Sorry, so back to item 3. Any public comment on approval of the meeting minutes for March 28th, 2024? Okay, great. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 28th.
I'll second.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then item 4, public comment. Any public comment for items not on the agenda? All right. No one in the on, okay. Great, and that moves us to our first and only action item, which is item 5A, review and consider authorization for executive director to enter into REACH 2 Project Master Services Agreement, Provider and Task Order 1 with WRA Environmental Consultants. Is there a staff presentation?
Very briefly.
Great, thank you.
So first, I want to thank all of our member agency staff who participated in the review of the RFPs that we received. As you know, we put out a request for proposals. We received 4 responsive proposals. The team assembled, reviewed them, and scored and ranked them according to a set of agreed-upon criteria and characteristics. Of those 4, WRA came out as the high scoring by far. We had, I think, 4 very good proposals. I don't want to imply that the other proposers weren't also very capable, but WRA was chosen by this group of 7 reviewers for their outstanding innovation and their awareness of and sensitivity to the potential for innovative, quick, cost-effective, and environmentally sensitive approaches to the San Francisco Creek. We are joined today by Andrew Smith, who is the project manager for WRA, and online we also have his colleague Aaron, who is, I think, online just listening in. So in your board packet, you have our scope of work and contract. You also have a copy of their proposal. So if you have any questions or remarks about it, I think we're open to talking about those, and Andrew can answer any questions about WRA as an organization.
To the chair, if I may, this is Bhavani Yarpoto from Valley Water.
Yes, please.
Chair Shreya is here as a member, but our video is not working. We are actually joining from our Valley Water headquarters.
Yes, Chair, I'm here. Actually, I've been here since 2:30. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't was not available to take action on the meeting minutes, but I'm here, and then hopefully can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so I do have some questions that I'd like to ask about this master agreement. But our video is not working, so does this work?
Is this okay? Okay,
Can I
perfect.
can
So if you could just hold off on your questions, I'm just going to see if there's any public comment on this item, and if there's not, or afterwards, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So any public comment on item 5A? Sorry? Okay, no public comments, so then we'll bring it back then. So go ahead. Oh,
Okay. thank
sorry,
you.
wait a minute. There is a question? Sorry, there's a public comment? Okay, then perfect. We'll do our public comment first.
Oh, okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Tom Rindfleisch. I'm not sure where you are in the agenda. I had some questions about the alternatives that were going to be addressed by the WRA group. And I don't know if this is the appropriate place to ask that question or not.
This is the appropriate place and time. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. So I'm Tom Rindfleisch from Crescent Park, and it's acknowledged in the proposal that the Pope Chaucer Bridge is a major cause of flooding with its about 5,800 cubic feet per second capacity. And there's a description of a few alternatives for increasing the conveyance of the Pope Chaucer Bridge as part of the project goal stated in terms of reaching a 7,500 cubic foot per second conveyance. And these alternatives have to combine with downstream changes like pinch point widening and flood wall enhancements. Based on past experience, it seems unlikely that 7,500 cubic feet per second can be contained in the existing creek because it has accumulated vegetation and debris over the years since the previous Noble Associates calibration that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers, because it would require unacceptably high flood walls. And so my question is, what is the plan for evaluating a combination of pinch point removal, bridge replacement modifications, and acceptable flood wall heights? That is, flood walls that are acceptable to the residents and the people who have residences adjacent to the creek, to determine what conveyance limit is actually achievable, which, because of this congestion in the creek that has come over the years, is probably less than 7,500 cubic feet per second. So that's my question. That is there an approach to this analysis that's going to combine in some optimal fashion bridge replacement, pinch point removal, and flood walls to see what conveyance limit is actually achievable that is acceptable to residents and people in the neighborhoods near the creek?
Great, thank you. If staff can respond.
Sure, very briefly. I think Andrew and I will tag team on this one. So the process, it has not yet been defined. That will be sorted out as WRA comes on board. It's inevitably going to be an iterative process. We will use the hydrologic modeling, we will use community input, we will use cost-benefit analysis, we will use constructability, permittability, maintainability, and other characteristics that the experts that we are retaining can advise us as suitable criteria for evaluating the best, most optimal strategies to reduce the risk of flooding. So Andrew, if you want to say anything else.
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. I think that, it's very important to understand the system as a whole. And when you come up with various solutions or alternatives, you need to understand if you're going to apply multiple alternatives or a combination of the alternatives. And it's really important to understand before you go into the alternatives, the actual goals. You mentioned the 7,500 CFS and other goals for the project. I think we're going to be evaluating a lot of goals, and we're going to be assessing the risk or likelihood of achieving those goals versus the consequences if we cannot meet those goals. And so there's going to be a very kind of a higher scale strategic analysis of before we select the future alternatives.
Okay, thank you. Any other public commenters?
Tom?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, one question. Is the process that you're describing, that Andrew has described, going to be open for public review and comment, and just simply to keep people apprised of where this process is going over time, so that we don't end up, 6 months from now or a year from now with a statement that this is where we are? That is it going to be possible for the public to make inputs to the steps and the strategies that are used in this process? Thank you.
Yes, staff?
Yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you. And no more hands raised? All right, then we will bring it back to the dais. We'll go back to our representative from Valley Water.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to apologize in advance that I know I'm new to this board, and my questions likely probably already discussed by this board. So if my question is already being discussed, and I apologize, but I need to understand this better since I'm going to vote for this. So my first question is that this contract is called task order number 1. So is it anticipate that there's going to be future work with this consultant WRA?
Through the chair, thank you. Director Shoya, yes, this is a master services agreement for work that we at the JPA envision WRA will provide ongoing support for. Task Order 1 sees us through the alternatives analysis, and subsequent task orders may see us through construction. Exactly where the task order breaks are or where they transition from one task order to another is to be determined. But this one will see us through the alternatives analysis and support for the supplemental EIR.
Okay, thank you for that. So then, I read the scope of work and the deliverables that's specified in the contract. Does the scope of work, it sounded to me that it's like a duplicated effort that the Corps is studying right now. So how is this study's effort is coordinated with Corps' work? And I just want to make sure that it's not like two separate entities doing the same work.
We are coordinating, and I think we have, I'll hand off a little of this reply to Andrew Smith. The channel widening work that is being done by the Corps, we have in the past had 4 widening sites. The CAP 205 program has a cost expenditure ceiling. The current cost estimate for the 4 widening sites is reaching, possibly exceeding the CAP 205 expenditure limit in their estimates. We may break that channel widening work into 2 components, in which case sites 4 and 3 would be separated from sites 2 and 1. 2 and 1 may fit better within the CAP 205 program for a variety of reasons. So the channel widening work and the finalization of those plans and moving forward with final designs and permitting would not be duplicative in this case. It would also be supportive of any of the Corps' work. So I want to hand it off to Andrew, who may have more to say specifically about coordinating with the Army Corps.
Thanks, Margaret. So I spent 10 years working at the San Francisco District Army Corps of Engineers. So I have a pretty good idea of what, I'm speculating, but I have done that exact role. And so I'm hoping to be able to facilitate a mutual coordination effort with the Army Corps. And I think, in light of the recent Schaff and Wheeler report, understanding the variance in the rating curve, given the 2022 event, I think it's understandable that the Army Corps could be reevaluating its process that's already gone through. And so I'm looking forward to having some meetings with them and coordinate as a team to resolve these issues.
Well, thank you for that answer, and I'm glad to hear that how you do have experience working with the Corps. So the follow-up question is that, are there any pre-discussion already happened with the Corps? So does the Corps know about this study that's going to happen, and the Corps is prepared to coordinate with your work? And does the Corps know that one positive outcome is that separate the 4 sites into 2 separate contracts, and then one belong to the Corps, the other, I guess, JPA will take it on. So does the Corps have any indication that, or any discussion already happened with the Corps about that?
Through the chair, if I may. Yes, absolutely, Chair Shui. We have had those conversations, and this idea was actually something that came about in a conversation with them. So they are both aware and probably exploring themselves which path would work best for them. At our last discussion about this, they were leaning pretty hard toward the taking on just sites 2 and 1. And they're, as Andrew said, they're looking through the current Schaff and Wheeler report and the hydraulics and hydrology and doing their own reevaluation. So they are going through their process and doing their due diligence, and we will see what the outcome of that is and then be better informed to make a better decision.
Okay, so I think I mentioned to the JPA board last month that the Corps came to the Water District and gave us a status report on the cooperative project that's going on with the Corps. For San Francisco Creek, the Corps didn't say anything about this coordination, and then and also that Margaret, as you just said, that the Corps itself is looking at this option. So that's why I'm asking the question. And I just I'm just concerned about that. They'll be either duplicating work, or some piece of the work is falling through the crack and nobody is taking it on. So just want to make sure that the coordination is going on, is ongoing, and the Corps is brought to the table on everything. And I also have a question about the estimated hours to complete the work. I'm not questioning the the expertise and the experience of the project team. It's just from my personal background and experience, I did a quick calculation, because I feel that the number of hours that's listed in the scope of work is only about 1,000. If I add all the numbers together, it's 1,076 hours. And for this kind of a scope and deliveries, I thought that's a very small number. To deliver this all the way to 30% plan and specification, I would think that a project team of 3 person or maybe two. I think two is very optimistic. 3 full-time person for 16 months. 16 months is coming from the schedule that's in the packet. It takes 16 months all the way to submitting the 30% plans and specification. I would think it's 1,000 hours to do 16 months work and deliver all the way to 30% plans and spec for the selected alternative. I just think it's pretty, to me, it's too optimistic. I would think it would take at least 6,000, 7,000 hours, which is many times more than 1,000 hours. So I just want to make sure that this everybody understands the scope and the deliverables, and it is it is feasible to deliver this kind of project in 16 months with only the estimated hours, so that there's no disputes down the road about the cost, and the deliverables.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you think we're efficient with our time.
You are very.
So if there is a misalignment of scope, you know, I'm happy to talk to Margaret about that. This is just based on my understanding of the RFP and also my pre-existing understanding of the creek. Maybe that's probably why it's very efficient, is because we just did a project just upstream of here quite recently. And so we have a really good understanding of the creek dynamics, sediments, hydraulics already.
Yeah, I saw your team's resume and all that. Everybody is a great many years experience, the right experience. But again, still you need to do a hydraulic analysis. So you need to do design. You need to have public meetings. You need to coordinate with the Corps of Engineers. You need to have survey. You need to have landscape design. You need to have I don't know, at least some initial contact with regulatory agency, getting their input so that you can incorporate into your analysis, and also the 30% plans and spec. So it's just a lot of work, and 1,000 hours is it's really just to me, it's very, very optimistic. So I'm just pointing this out at that, so that we're all clear, and then not again, it's like not having dispute down the road. It's better that we're on the same page at the beginning of the process. Yeah. That's all I have.
I appreciate your input. I just want to make sure one thing I wanted to mention is that there is an iterative task in there. So when you add up the hours, it doesn't quite add up, because I think we're supposed to have 20 or 30 iterations of modeling, but we only show one iteration in the spreadsheet. So that's something else to consider. And then something you mentioned about topography. I believe we've already done a full survey of the site already. And then just in my
that is true, but then we did have a very severe winter this past winter, that the creek channel topography may have changed. I mean, for planning study, I think it's okay, but then if you're actually going to 30% design, a more up-to-date survey may be needed, because of the severe flooding, severe water amount that's carried in San Francisco Creek this past winter. So anyway, I'm just pointing out my concerns, and I'm not questioning your team's expertise and ability. That's definitely not my intent. I just want to make sure that since the JPS budget is pretty tight, and if there's any issues not cleared, let's make it clear at the beginning of the process.
All right, great, thank you. Others?
Well, thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I want, in sections 2.2, reviewing the existing designs, and then 2.5, the hydraulic modeling. So, yeah, so I don't know, well, I have I guess, kind of a simple question, and maybe it's embedded in there, but in reviewing the existing designs, as we have learned since the winter of 22, 23, and then, that the previous model didn't predict. And so, from what I read and what I hear, try to understand, definitely there's the issue of erosions of the creek in certain areas, or just changing the width. Then there's the question of the debris, just how much there is. Then something that, as I understand, the previous model didn't take into consideration the whole atmospheric rivers, the whole precipitation of water itself versus just the event that took place back in 98. Those are the ones that seem to pop up a lot, either, I think just from observations or people that look at the creek, and including me, who may not be thinking or understanding all the science behind it, but their behaviors that you see, like, well, something's changing there. There's too much stuff in there, and it's raining a lot more than, and it could rain again the next year. It could be 5 years straight like that. Who knows, right? So that's part of the change. So I just want to make sure that all those things are being considered in reviewing the existing models, so that we end up with the best of our understanding, given the last few situations that come.
Absolutely. This is happening all over the Bay Area. Something that was really interesting about that storm in 2022 was actually the wind direction of all things. When you think about the trees all over the watershed, they're used to a predominant wind direction. And so when there's a long, hard gust or days of wind in the opposite direction, you get this massive removal of trees that are falling over. And that was reported, that was in the news, if you guys remember.
Yeah,
right. So there's so much variability in things with the climate, and you're starting to see that with this. Yeah. And so you've got I think about wind, you think about precip, you think about sediment. There's a lot of things, and so we're trying to use natural processes, which are over thousands of years have learned to adapt to all of these changes, account for that, and there is a lot to unpack there. And I think what we're doing in other cities and communities is making sure that when we come up with solutions, that we very, very clearly communicate to the public what this is the solution for and what the risks are around surrounding things. Because maybe you can have 7,500 CFS with clear water without sediment, but then when you add in debris in your channel, you can't get to 7,500 CFS. So like understanding, okay, what is the problem? What specifically can we solve? And setting expectations to the community of what this is, what all of this is going towards is really important. So that public outreach is really important.
And also, I think understanding to the degree, or as much as possible, which parts of the creek, where. I mean, that may be hard to do that, but because I think we all get attached to our little pieces. I've lived near the creek for, 45 years, so I kind of know that area pretty well. So I have a feeling for that kind of when it rains and how high so many times it's come and then it recedes, and then where it's broken, even if it's a little bit, and like, how come it broke there, not over there? And then we know the places where it has happened already. And so, understanding, I guess, all those, the more risky areas, I guess that's the other part. Where exactly are the most likely risks to occur, and what does that mean? So, yeah, so how could I forget the wind? Remind me of the wind. That was definitely, the wind and the trees was a major change in what we've seen in so many years. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, all right. Thank you.
I had just one question about the proposed schedule. Could you speak to, how aggressive this schedule is and whether there's, points where you're concerned about whether there could be delay?
I would say that the schedule is feasible, but it really depends on the cooperation of all of us, of all of the stakeholders, coming to the table and really being honest and open to all of the alternatives. If we can be decisive, it's a very feasible schedule. If there are doubting or wanting more information than what we've already provided, it could really slow things down. So it's going to be, going back to what I was mentioning about, you evaluate your alternatives based on your likelihood or your risk versus your consequence, and with the information that you have, and you move forward with that information, I think is important. And so making sure that we kind of have some type of analysis for those alternatives, and we're open to what that analysis is really telling us, and moving forward together as a team is what will make that schedule feasible.
Thank you.
And I just have one follow-up question from Director Abrica. Is the reduced capacity of the creek is by about 25%. Is any of that caused by the buildup of sediment, or is that really just from past surveys being inaccurate?
It's hard to say for sure. It's there. The world of river mechanics, sediment transport, geomorphology is, in my opinion, still at its infancy. It's only, people have been doing this 50, 60 years maybe, and maybe a little bit longer than that, but it's still very, I think, new. It's a game of thresholds. You never know where the next landslide is going to happen, and a landslide can just completely change your river. And so sometimes it could be too much gravel in the system. Sometimes it could be too much cobble in the system. Sometimes it could be too many trees in the system. And so there's a number of reasons why a river is going to act a certain way. And so, or it could be topography and your actual channel. We are very fortunate in our current society to have the technology we do. Like, you can just hire a person that flies a drone, fly the drone across the whole creek, and get another drone flight survey aerial image now. That's amazing. I mean, that could be an alternative that we explore to understand sediment transport, because you can get fairly accurate survey data now. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, is there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't have a solid answer for you. Reading the Schaff and Wheeler report, it sounds like there was debris from upstream and it related to the gauge specifically. So it didn't really have too much to do with the topography in the channel anywhere downstream of the golf course. It was really at the gauge. They were noticing a difference between the flows from 1998 versus the flows in 2022. So it seemed to be a very gauge-related, upstream-related thing. Something that's really interesting about San Francisco Creek is normally a drainage area is maybe like 50% upland and then 50% lowland or urban. But San Francisco Creek is almost all upland, and then it gets really narrow. The drainage area is very narrow as it goes through in between Menlo Park and Palo Alto. So it's a very interesting drainage area where you don't have that floodplain or like that added watershed from a lowland area. So it's something that we need to account for when we conduct our alternative analysis.
Great, thanks. That was really informative. And overall, I support the staff recommendation here. I know we talked about this a little bit. The task order 1 doesn't identify the specific alternatives that's going to be evaluated by WRA. And I guess we're going to be working with multiple agencies providing that input to help determine those alternatives to be reviewed. Just want to kind of put a pitch in that I do hope that the alternative study will include one or more that kind of essentially keeps the project as it has been defined, but seeing what happens when we add various incremental measures. I think you were kind of talking about that as well, like low flood walls that may be more acceptable in some communities rather than higher ones that were previously proposed. And that will address the decreased channel capacity that was identified, especially in last year's New Year's Eve flood. So hopefully that's all going to be considered when we get there, but I know we're not at that point. Okay, great, seeing the head nods. Any other questions? Okay, then I believe we are ready for a vote. If anyone wants to make a motion.
Did we take public comment yet?
We did, yes.
Okay, just checking. And it all needs to be a roll call vote.
Well, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, if the clerk can call the vote.
Director Stone?
Yes?
Director Pine?
Yes.
Director Abrika?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And one more online.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, Director Shui, are you still on? Director Shui?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you. I will vote for it, but I just want to stress one more time that my concern about the number of hours, which relates to the total contract dollars for this task order 1 and the deliverables, and that's hope everything worked out. But thank you for the consultant's answer. I will vote for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So that passes.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6, information items, the executive director's report.
Director Stone, I know that you are on a tight schedule this afternoon, so I would ask, my executive director's report this month is fairly brief. If anyone has any questions, rather than sort of recite the report, I would open it to questions if you have any requests for additional details or any other updates.
Great, appreciate that. And yes, it is a very short executive director's report. Thank you. Let's, any questions before we go to public comment? Any questions from the directors? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment on this item?
I have no request to speak at this time.
Okay, then we'll move to item 7, board member announcements, information items, and requests. Are there any? Okay, hearing none. Then item 8, our favorite item, adjournment. Thank you, everybody.
That was efficient.